Hi, this is Phil Hinton and welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Bristol Sound and Vision Show 2009, which took place over the weekend of the 20th to the 22nd of February. While most of the talk was about AV, the issue that lingers in the back of most people's minds has to be the current economic climate. So we set out to speak with several of the industry's major players to get their take on this less than ideal situation.
It is nowhere near as bad as some might have you believe. Interestingly, because we sponsored it, we were allowed in on the press conference on the Friday evening, where an awful lot of the GfK market data was shown in a presentation. And if you spend any time looking at the press, you'd assume that no one was buying anything. We're actually seeing single-figure percentage drops in most of the key categories, which actually has happened before in times that we imagined were good. There's still money out there and there's still people wanting to buy items. They are perhaps more interested in paying for it outright and making sure that it's done. There's less sort of search. Well, there's people searching for credit, but there's certainly less of it out there to get, which means that you're getting people buying less frequently but buying outright. And obviously, on the back of the Pioneer announcement, we can't pretend that it's all good news for everybody. But it's just a case of going back to core values, making sure the product you're selling is excellent, properly represented and properly supported. You can't cut back in these key areas, otherwise you're going to suffer even further. So it's a case of staying positive and doing what's required of you.
So a positive start from one of the big names in the mass market. But what about high-end AV? We caught up with Alan Rosa from Sim2.
I think it's fair to say it's tough. I don't think anybody knows otherwise. The important thing is to remain positive, and with the housing market flat, people are sort of being very careful about what they're spending. We are seeing people saying, well, they're staying put. I'm not going out more, so maybe I want to invest in products to be entertained at home. I think it's a state of mind. There's too much negative press going on there, and yes, we know it's going to be tough, but you just have to remain focused on what you offer. Customer service is absolutely important. The right products, that is key. So this is something that we are concentrating on very hard.
Obviously things have happened recently, and there are talks of even price increases in the marketplace from certain areas of the world that produce electronics. So how do you see that impacting on the marketplace?
It's inevitable. I think we've seen price increases. The exchange rate has had a major impact. Companies like Sim2, we've absorbed some of those, but unfortunately it's regrettable that we have to pass those costs on to the consumer.
The Chinese have a saying, a curse actually, called "May you live in interesting times," and boy are they interesting. Anybody that thinks the industry is booming is deluding themselves. Equally, it's not as moribund as the papers would have you believe. And I have to say, at this show, we have had tremendous interest from informed customers throughout the show. We've been busy the whole time. And I think we're taking quite a lot of business, both for our stereo products as well as the new AV products. So we are, to use another politician's phrase, cautiously optimistic about the next year, but it will be tough. One thing I will say for everybody out there, our whole industry has shot itself in the foot by trying to suggest that prices will only go on and fall, and they won't for the next year or two. In most cases, prices will go up, particularly with complex technology products, partly because nobody's making any money anyway, and partly because the exchange rates have changed quite significantly against the UK, and parts are bought in dollars, products are bought mostly in dollars, sometimes even in yen, which is worse, and you are seeing big price changes around the industry. It's a good time to buy.
Now, there's this argument about quality products over quantity products. People in the UK like a bargain. Is that impacting on the end of the market where Arkham like to operate?
A bit, though if you have a product that is what people want for the next generation, I don't think they're very price sensitive. Most dealers will wheel and deal a little more than they would in the best of times, and that's fair enough. But no, in that case, we're not having to do any amazing deals to keep products moving. But of course, on something that's obsolescent or discontinued, the deals are legendary and everywhere. And, buy them, guys, if you can get them, because the rest of us are losing money on it,
Is Is this a serious problem for the industry, though? If this continues for 2009 into 2010,
well, I think
are we going to lose more manufacturers?
That's a distinct possibility. Yeah, I think it will be very tough. And again, realistically, most of the people I speak to feel that if we can get through the year solvent and with reasonable product development, then we'll have done very well. And in that sense, you know, we do need customers who are interested in serious products to go and buy them, please, because it helps pay everyone's mortgages and it helps fund the next round of product development.
Because I guess that's the main point. If people aren't buying, you're not selling product, then you're not raising the budgets for your R&D. If R&D stops, then we're all in a mess.
Absolutely, and we've taken a very brave stance in the last 2 years. The AVR 600, depending on how you count it, cost between £1.5 and £2 million to develop, and over 20 man-years of our R&D effort, which is most of it for the last couple of years. So we've spent that kind of money. We need to get it back, and we certainly can't spend it again until we start selling these products properly. Luckily, I think it's on the money, so I think we will do well, but my goodness, it's a high risk.
And is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah. I think with this and the processor that will follow and the other products related to it and the Blu-ray later down the field, I think we will get ourselves into a decent state by the end of this year, but it won't be easy.
So, after such honest answers from Alan and John about the state of the industry, what about dealers, and in particular the organisers of shows like Bristol? Jerry Lewin certainly feels that consumers can keep buying in confidence.
Well, I think the good news is that if you're an enthusiast, then you're going to carry on being interested and you're going to carry on buying. And I think a lot of the industry will survive on that. I think if you decide not to holiday or decide not to move, then you might decide to invest in a nice home cinema that you've always wanted. And I think the industry will do very well in the recession. It's not going to grow, but I think it's going to survive quite nicely, which is great. I think the problem is that if there is a problem, a number of the suppliers are going to be strapped for cash, and I think the number of new product launches might decline, and there'll be a lot of people waiting for things to get better before they, announce their new stuff. So, it was interesting at CES. Everybody thought it was going to be the year of OLED TVs, and it's very obvious that somebody in Japan has said, "Oh, I don't think it's. I think it's a bit risky. This year we'll leave it a couple of years when business is better." So there will be a bit of a delay, which means actually that the idea of always waiting for the next thing around the corner might have to wait a few years. So I think what you've got now is what you're going to have for a few years, which actually is great because you can carry on putting things off forever. I think we're at a fantastic point now. The home cinema, high definition pictures are available, high definition sound is available. It's all actually got to the point where it makes sense to buy it.
Yeah. So what you're saying is it's a better time than ever to buy?
Well, I think so. I think the danger now, of course, is that things are going to get much more expensive. The pound is down, and there's some big price rises coming through. So actually, literally the next month or so is the best possible time to buy. I'm not saying that as a dealer. There are going to be big price hikes that are going to be quite shocking, and we're going to have to get used to paying quite a lot more for our stuff, which is a big shame. But that's probably how the credit crunch is going to affect the business more than anything. Things will cost more, but not British stuff, because that is going to be relatively unscathed. But those people who have been making the stuff in China and selling it very cheaply for the last 5 years, reality is going to dawn in April, I suspect.
Perhaps it's not doom and gloom after all. We guess it's just a matter of wait and see on whether this current financial crisis is going to see us lose more manufacturers along the way. And on that note, that concludes our coverage from Bristol 2009. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon on avforums.tv.